All right, we are live. Welcome to the Real World Productivity Q&A. This is episode 83. Today is the 16th of May, 2019. Today we got some good stuff. We got a couple questions that I wanted to go over. One of them from a new group member, and that's about using virtual assistants more effectively. Feels like, he could be doing a better job. He's not either getting enough out of it or he's, maybe wasting time. So going to go into that a little bit. And as well, talking about why time tracking is important, and not just from theory of it'd be neat if we were more productive, but actually what is going on with time tracking, kind of the nitty gritty about why it works. Because up front, it is difficult. It's not, I haven't talked to anyone who's just I just one day decided to track my time and it's the easiest thing I've ever done. Said nobody ever. It's difficult, but the payoff is really high, and there's some really clear results you can get from that. And so I'll go into that a little bit. And then as time allows, answer any questions from anyone watching live. And we'll check on that from time to time before we wrap up. So, real quick, if you're not joining us live, you can always find the link down below. Come join us in the Real World Productivity group. As well as if you're watching on YouTube, you can hit subscribe, stay up to date, of course, with these videos, as well as any updated videos on apps, general productivity, time management, team building, automation, all that sort of good stuff. So if that's your cup of tea, those are your two things you can do. You can subscribe on the channel, or you can come join us in the group. It is a free group, but you do have to answer 3 questions that are pretty tough, like why are you here and what are you interested in? So make sure you're ready for that. All right, I'm going to hop over and we will get started. So the first question was really about how to use virtual assistants effectively. And the issue there being, actually this is a new member, Brett. And just saying, I'd like to be able to stop wasting money, reduce stress, and provide a better service to the people I work with. That's awesome. Both on your side that you're trying to improve this, and on the side of either your clients or hopefully also, the people you're working with, right? The VAs themselves. And I think that this is really timely. I'm going to switch over screens really quickly. I'm working on editing an interview I had with Catherine Jones of CF Design School. Met up in February in Nashville, had a chat, and a great conversation came out of that. And this is going to be a bonus for people who joined the, actually just now launching the Growth Automation membership. So people who are interested in taking what I talk about, whether it's team building, time management, automation, and realize that this is more than just a one-time thing, right? You don't just automatically become master at time management. You don't just end up with a great team, but like myself, you realize this is something you need to work on over time, and then you can speed that up by working with a group of people, as well as building your productivity framework. So anyways, people who join that are going to get this free bonus as well. And so I'm going through and editing this up into something where people can figure out a lot more about how she, and myself as well as part of the conversation, about growing a business and maximizing the team's output for growth. And so from this came a lot of really good ideas. We talked back and forth about this, and looking at how Catherine has grown her business over the last year, going from a team of 1 herself to a team of, I believe, 6 now, and she's looking to double or triple that in the next 12 months. And talking about exactly what's going on in there. And I'll just cover 3 large areas. Obviously, this isn't going to be, the master class on how to train your VA team or something, but I do want to tell you, go over the broad areas in case any one of these is missing. This is really important. So the first one is having some sort of an onboarding process. And a lot of people may think I just have a VA who does 2 hours of work a week, and I don't need to onboard. I don't need to have something complicated. And you're partially correct. You don't need to have something complicated. But you are wasting time, and you're wasting their time if you don't have something as simple as just a 1 sheet you could just write out. Or it could be like a Loom video where you just kind of get out, hey, this is, hopefully you've gone over this before, but what your expectations are for communication. Are there times of the day? Is there a preferred style? Do you expect them to Google a solution first and then come to you? Are there tools that they should know how to use better, or do you have some training for them? Have them go through that. Could be as simple as that, and that's honestly what I do, and it's just 1 or maybe 2 pages now. and just goes through and says, hey, this is the stuff we talked about. If you need a refresher like on how to use this tool, go here, watch this video I made. And then, reaffirming kind of what we did in the pre-hire is like, okay, here's the expectations, here's what we want, and then going from that. And again, as you grow, that's something you can hand off. Maybe it becomes more complicated. You have a training program, you have this and that. But again, don't overdo it. At the same time, don't overlook this. And, this is something that you do once, and you can edit lightly over time, and it'll certainly pay off as well. Like the one I have is just a reminder for people. I say, hey, if you forget some of the stuff, just go back to the onboarding page, we sent you, and, go through that, and that'll be helpful for you. As well, on the other side, and we're going to get into this, is, people appreciate that, right? Instead of just kind of being thrown a task, it's like, oh, this is neat. This is a good reminder of what I need to know, and it makes their job more clear, and certainly would make them feel like, oh, this person's actually, interacting with me and trying to help me. Secondly, if you don't have good processes for your VA, that's okay. What? How's that? It's okay, because you need to realize you either have really good processes or you're going to have to spend a lot of time with them creating those, okay? And you can do something like Catherine even talked about, where she has someone make processes for her, but you need to understand too that takes time to build up. Either you go ahead and go that route and get someone to do that, but then you need to make sure, of course, that they're trained and they're doing it correctly, and that's okay. It takes time. But the investment is in one area or the other. You're either having the processes already made, or you're working with someone to get those done. Whereas, like, maybe you record yourself doing it, and then you hand it off to someone who can then turn it into a Trello card or a Google Doc. And that's certainly enough. But it isn't one of those where you just say, hey, I want someone to be a social media manager, and you just hire them and walk away. I can guarantee you that probably won't end very well. So again, not to be all doom and gloom, but just going into it with your eyes open and saying, okay, I either have concrete processes that I can hand over to someone, get them trained on, and expect them to hit the ground running very quickly, or I need to develop this with them as we go, and maybe the first week or two I need to invest more time because I'm gonna have to record videos and get them to develop the process and do it themselves, and then after that, things start running a little bit more smoothly. So I think that those are the first two really important things to think about. And then last, but certainly not least, I referred to this in the onboarding part, but me and Catherine talked about this, and I really think this is so true and important. They're people. We have heard stories from different businesses I've worked with, different people I talk to, and sometimes people can forget that there's another person on the end of that, even if they are just doing a simple task. Most people, and making a broad sweeping generalization here, like to be cared about. It doesn't mean you need to be best friends, but are you asking if you can help them? Maybe are the processes clear? Is there a preferred way that they would like to work? Is there other things they're interested in doing? Getting them involved on a personal level too is going to help you, in the sense like maybe they see mistakes, but they don't say anything because they're just following the process. They don't really have a personal connection. You didn't hire them to find issues. So again, I've had some people tell me, it doesn't work out. I send over a task, and then, after a couple weeks they, walk away, or they become less responsive. It's like, yeah, well, I don't know what to tell you. If you just need someone to do a task, that's fine. You make it very clear. But again, if you're hiring someone, 20 hours, 30 hours, 40 hours a week, definitely build that relationship. And it could be as simple as having a team call, maybe 10, 20, 30 minutes once a month or every few weeks. And it's really about work again, but asking them, what they're working on. Have you noticed any issues? Is there anything that could help you do your job better? Anything you'd like to try or do? And building that relationship then also lets you talk a little bit more directly. I'm literally not all the way through the book Radical Candor. It's been recommended by several people that have come on my podcast. So working through that, but it talks about this, which I kind of knew in a general way, but right, when you have that relationship with somebody, you can be more direct in some ways with them, whereas with someone I don't know, I would be probably a little bit not scared, but you wouldn't be as direct with someone, whereas when you've been working together with someone, you understand how they operate, you understand how they communicate a little bit better, you can say things more directly to them. as far as criticism, and then but you've got to have that two-way street. You can be more direct, you can critique them, you can fix their issues, but you've got to also then actually care about what's going on with them, and what they're doing. So I think those are the three really big areas to get the most out of your VAs. If you don't already have an onboarding system, I would immediately do one. And again, don't kill yourself doing this. It could be a simple one-page explanation of, hey, here's kind of our mission, here's what we're doing here, here's what I expect of you, here's a preferred styles of communication, just a reminder, and these are the tools you need to use. If you need, here's links to maybe some training or some kind of advanced use cases of what you expect. And if you have any questions about this, be sure to bring it up. We encourage that. It's what I do. I would hope everyone else does as well. And then having processes and realizing that you either have great processes for them at the start, or you're going to have to invest some time right up front. All right, and either way is okay. It's not right or wrong. And then they're people, right? You need to care about them and what's going on and how they work into your business. So for two reasons. One, because they're a person, so treat them like one. And then two, so you can be more direct over time, and they can be direct and feel comfortable telling you, hey, I think there's a better way to do this, or I see what you're doing here, but maybe we could do it differently, or I'd like to be doing something else. And that stuff is hugely beneficial. All right, gonna check and see. Chris was watching. Hey, Chris, thanks for saying hi. And give that a little like. Okie dokie. So let's head back over. There is another area I wanted to talk about, which was time tracking. And this has really been on my mind after reading the book Clockwork by Mike Michalowicz, and then also at the same time, I know I've talked about this a few times, but getting the Timeular time tracker. And so basically, let's see if I can do this without... so he talks about the 4 Ds, so let me go over here. So it's doing, deciding, delegating, and designing. And I've added a few other things for like when I'm on a call or learning. And thank you to my wife for writing on this. If I had done this, nobody would be able to read it. So, but that's made it a lot easier. I've done time tracking where I've done it with pen and paper. Go in like every half hour, an hour, write what I was doing. And that's worked pretty well. It was, and I still highly recommend doing that a few times a year. But it is tough. Every system I've used, it takes some sort of input. Like just using this even takes me, setting it down. What you do is you just set it with the face up of what you're doing. And it has to be something you do. And so that's tough because a lot of times we get busy and then we work maybe for 3 hours. Or you step away, you go do something else. And then how many people can remember what you did 3 hours ago, like exactly? I most of the time I can't. I'll be like, I was working on that project, but did I work on an email for 15 minutes or was I doing something else? What was it? So it's really can be difficult to do. But I want to talk to you about why you do want to do this and why I've kind of switched into using, again, the Timeular device and using a little bit broader categories. But first, one of the most important things I think is it lets us deal with reality. All right, I'm going to liken this to dealing with finances. All right, I've had financial issues, whether, starting a business or you lose clients, I got slammed with a tax bill this year we weren't expecting. But ignoring it, right, or not knowing about it isn't the way you want to go, and it's not the way that's going to solve your problem. And so the same way as with time, if you're just like, well, I don't know, I probably spend this much time doing things. If you're trying to really optimize your time, right, that's crazy. You're not going to get the increases or the optimizations that you would want because you don't actually know what you're doing. And I fall somewhere in between. Like I said, occasionally I like to go through and really list out what I'm doing. How much time did I really spend on Facebook or, reading some articles when I thought I was doing some writing or something really important. But yeah, dealing with the reality of the situation and getting better over time. And that's the second point, is it lets you speed up everything you're doing that has to do with time management. Because I am aware, I think that myself and other people, you could probably, again, just, you'll say, well, I think I spent about this much time on this project, or I feel overwhelmed today, or I feel like I didn't get enough done, or I felt like I had a good day. But those don't always work out. But again, over time, you could probably, you'll slowly kind of work your way into like, okay, I understand what gets me derailed or what makes me feel overwhelmed. But when you do this and you put it down into numbers and, a list, it just speeds this process up because you see, oh my gosh, I spent 3 hours writing that stuff when I thought it would only take me an hour, and then I had to send those emails and this and that. And so you can really start to iterate a lot faster, and you'll start to see where your issues are. And so to me, that's the reason I like it. I see an immediate benefit from time tracking, whereas if I did it on my own, it would probably be not as accurate, and then it would also take a lot longer. So I think those are two interesting tie-ins. So if you haven't tried it yet, I highly encourage you to do it. If you don't want to spend money on something like the Timeular device, that's fine. But just grab a piece of paper, and like I use a legal pad, and I'll draw a line through it and write down like maybe 15 or 30 minute increments for the whole day, right? And I'll do it ahead of time, and I keep it right there when I do that. And then just go through and maybe set a reminder for yourself so you don't get too lost. And yep, it's a distraction, but I find that the payoff is worth it. So you do that for a day or two, and then go back and review it. Say, oh my gosh, where can I improve? What took longer than I thought it did, and what maybe didn't take as long as I thought it would. Alrighty, I'll check real quick. All right, I don't see any questions for today from the live stream, so that is fine. We will wrap things up. Thanks everybody for watching this or checking out the replay. If you want to join the 14-day productivity challenge, if you're looking to really either start or you want to get more out of your daily review, then this is the place for you to do that. And you should go to productivity.academy/foundation challenge. The daily review is only part of it. In the second week, we go into automations, and you get to kind of watch over the shoulder as I work through how to automate, save dozens of hours, and then to kind of choose what you should be automating. And you can do what the example is, but the best part is you can also use these steps to automate something else completely different at the same time, and then to keep doing that in the future. So again, head over to productivity.academy/foundation challenge, and thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next week.